the Kombat Korner.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Minion from the Kombat Korner,
And Quario.
and today we got a special guest with us, Casselman from MKO.
How's it going?
I'm sorry we haven't done these in a while. We've been caught up in some personal life stuff, but I'm glad we finally got Casselman on here today. He actually got to go to Boston to go in PAX, so he gathered up some info for the gaming stuff, and we're gonna be talking about that today. So, if it's cool with you, man, can we get right into it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Alright, well, my first question would have to be frame advantage. Basically, how do you think the frames have been tweaked from the demo to the build you got to play?
For the most part, I know a lot of people were concerned about jab infinites and how they could be used as traps. I didn't notice them quite as present. I know a lot of people could just spam attack one with either Scorpion or Johnny Cage, and it worked for a lot of traps, and a lot of special moves seem to either leave the executor open even if he landed them correctly, or even if he missed them, he'd be even more open. Part of that jumped over into X-rays, but I'm sure we'll touch on that sometime later. For the most part, they fixed it up a lot. The build that I played at PAX was a lot more polished, a lot more tight feeling, but yet it opened a door for your creativity at the same time. I didn't see too much frame advantages going to the point where anyone would be upset with anything. It seemed pretty well balanced from a character-to-character basis, so it seems like they're working hard. They cleaned it up a lot. There's nothing really to be concerned about there.
Alright, cool. Well, Corey, you want to ask me a question?
Juggling engine. How was the juggling engine compared to the past MK games such as MK vs. DC, Armageddon?
Well, each game has its own sort of evolution. I noticed MKDC, it revolved on what I call the 3 bounce rule, really. Like if you run in and bounce or any pop-up, you're allowed 3. And on the third one, usually it'll kick you away. This game is kind of running on a different premise. You can keep going and going and going most of the time, and the animations of where they fall to the ground will just increase and increase and increase. Sort of the same as damage scaling. So it involves a lot more dedication instead of just sort of, I have 3 pop-ups to work with. So the hardcore people who really are going to play in your face and get those fast combos off are going to be able to do some really lengthy combos. I know there's people that we've seen already online that have done crazy combos, and it's just because they're in there, they're utilizing the system with the tools that they've been given, and it's not so much of I have 3 launches or 3 pound down attacks. So in terms of how it compares, I'd say it opens up a lot more for creativity, but at the same time it provides enough restriction where no one's going to be able to run away with it completely. It's pretty well balanced.
Alright, cool. Question 2, timing and special moves. We know in MK vs. DC where if you played some online matches and stuff, like some of the pro moves would differ. So like if you were playing in a real lag game, if you press the buttons, it would act accordingly because of the lag. Whereas like if you did it in like single player mode offline, it would require precision timing. Do you think that'll be a factor in this game, or do you think that it'll act according from the online to the offline?
Well, talking with the team when we were there, that was one of the subjects that we covered, was online versus offline, and how reliable it was going to be, and we got a very overwhelming sense of relief. Yeah, they're trying to make it as equivalent playing online as it would be offline, to the point where you have to be precise. A lot of people are worried that it may have to do with connection issues and latency, but the impression that we got is that there's not going to be much difference. They're really WB really wants a good product, and you can see it in what they've created so far, and I'm sure it's going to carry over into online. I think for inputs and character timing and specials, it's probably going to be exactly, or at least they're aiming for exactly what you'd experience offline. I wouldn't expect inputs to vary at all. I'm pretty sure the fan base wouldn't want them to, and I know NetherRealm Studios is trying to please us in every way possible, so they want an absolute top tier performance, and having to cope with online issues is probably not something they want to do. So I'm sure it's been an issue they've focused on, and I'm sure it'll be as tight, if not extremely close, as much as possible to offline and the way everything works offline. I'm sure it'll be a much more game of precision instead of just changing the playing field.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Dashing. The dashing move will be best put to a combo add-on. How would you best use the dashing move if you were in a position of losing?
Position of losing, I guess that would matter on character-to-character basis, because each character's got different moves with different ranges. I'd say if you're losing, the best thing to do would be offensive pressure. You could also turtle depending on the character, but to incorporate dashing, you probably want to use it to catch someone off guard. I know a lot of people do jump fakes where they make it look like they're on their way out or they're running away, and then they'll dash in fast and they'll perform something. So it's really about planning ahead, knowing your character's parameters against the other character's parameters. Play styles come into effect there. I would say quick dashes in and out techniques will probably be used a lot, especially if you're losing. You don't want to just leave yourself open. Incorporated with safe attacks and specials with good recovery. You don't want to leave yourself open. Dashing is going to be a huge part of that, because as we've seen, even the jabs and the small chain combos, a lot of it revolves around the character being in one position. So the ability to utilize that dash as well as jump in combos, I don't think you'll see as much of that if someone's losing, but to be able to dash in and perform those are going to be key. But that's not just for combos. I guess it applies for special moves and everything as well. Dashing is going to be extremely important, offensive or defensive. Even if you're winning, it's going to be really important.
All right, cool. Question 3 would be character speed. We know in MK vs. DC with characters like the Flash and stuff, where if other characters, were trying to perform specials, because of how fast he was with his dashing stuff, well, let's say if a character was going to punch and then the Flash did the spin dash, they would freeze in the air, So do you think that some characters with quicker special timing in this game are gonna, leave some openings for some of the characters that have slower inputs, or do you think it'll balance out?
I think there's going to be some exceptions for characters, because we have a very diverse cast. It's not necessarily the same template applied across the board. I recall playing as Reptile, and he seemed like he had a lot of priority over simpler attacks with his back forward 2 dash, and that's not even his enhanced dash. And I noticed it was quite powerful, but at the same time they limited the range on it, so it's not so much like Flash was in MKDC. We haven't seen Cabal yet. I'm sure we will at one point. I don't think we can speculate. We won't know for sure. But out of every character I've seen so far, I would say Reptile is the only one with any sort of move that's like that. And it does seem to have its advantages, but range and disadvantages are also, just as big a factor. So it does play a factor, but I think they did a good job of balancing it out. And I know a lot of it's going to revolve around hitboxes too. So it's going to be a guessing game.
Yeah, cool. All right, man.
Okay, the haters. Having some bashers on the newer game, the old fans complain about what has changed for the bad in MK9. What has stayed the same in the past MK games for the good?
Well, I think the biggest thing that scares the fans is the absence of the universal commands. Because in the old games, no matter who you were, you had your high punches, you had your anti-air kicks, you had your high kicks, your roundhouses, and with a lot of that being eliminated and just the sweeps left, I could see why a lot of fans would be rather concerned. I know a lot of people like their tactics that can be spread across the board, and then utilizing specials for certain characters to apply tactics and progress through the fight. Things that have had effect on that, are just it's the evolution of the game itself. You know, we have to accept it's something that's going to happen. The things that have stayed the same and feel the same to the point where it's still comfortable to run in and do a sweep. All those sweeps are varied. Old school fans, I don't really think have anything to worry about. There's enough new, but there's enough old to the point where when you play this game, you feel like you're playing an old Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 or an MK2 or another classic game. It gives a real good feel, and I don't think we really have anything to worry about. Once these people that are complaining play the game, I'm sure everything will fall into place. It's okay to be paranoid, but everything will work out fine.
Yeah, that's cool. And, you know, like they said, too, that they were going to have patches and stuff, you know, that could be updated right through the game, so that way we didn't have to sit there downloading tons of, you know, memory for the patches and stuff. So that'd be really cool if they can implement that.
Exactly.
Question 4. Were some of the enhanced specials needed for some of the characters? So basically, do you think some of the enhanced specials that the characters received were needed, or do you think that some of them were, you know, less uninspired and they're just to like leave big frame options open for other people, you know, to counter that? What do you think?
I definitely, I'm not going to put the game down or anything because I have an overwhelming great feeling about this game, but there were certain enhanced specials that I don't feel were either used creatively or they were just kind of thrown in there as a regular special but a little bit more powerful. I really thought there could have been some differences in there. One of them in particularly was Sector's missile. I know I played a lot of him, and his missile, his upgraded straight missile is just the same thing, but a little bit more powerful. And I really felt that they should have given some of the characters more of a toolbox to use with some of these things. A lot of them are just, they're not very useful at all. And they're more so just for a little bit of extra damage, which I guess would come into play in certain parts. You know, a little bit extra damage would be a difference maker in a match. But if I had an opportunity to use a special that had just the same amount of chance of hitting as the regular special, opposed to, let's say, using the same character having a teleport punch that has a follow-up for a combo, you know, the choice is pretty simple, that you're going to want the one that's going to set up for more offensive tactics. I felt like a lot of moves shouldn't have been in there for advanced moves. I think they have a lot of creativity that they can implement into that, and I hope that they continue to do that, and I hope that some of the moves are taken out because they just don't feel complete.
Right. Alright, cool.
Alright. The X-Ray best use. This is about the X-Ray will be one of the most effective moves to add onto a combo. How would it be used best for a low tier character?
Well, it's going to vary from character to character. I don't think any character that I've seen I would call low tier. I don't want to name any names or else the fan bases are going to jump on me. Characters that I'm not so good with are, I would say, Melina. I think I'm alright with Sonya, but she's gonna take some getting used to. So, and those are full frontal melee characters for the most part. And I think those are going to be the ones that are hardest to implement because people are going to know that you're coming right at them. And the X-rays, they definitely are difference makers. In particular, I remember missing a couple, and they completely tilted the battle in the opposite direction. And for characters like those are going to be the hardest to implement, so you're going to need to find ways and openings that you can incorporate them and for sure nail those off. That's the most important thing, is to not use them if you want to use them unless you know you're going to land them, because if you miss them against an experienced player, it's going to be a match ender for sure.